couple of days ago, we got some pretty interesting insight to how Sonic games are written. Now, these come from tweets that were sent to Katie, who is part of the social media team for Sonic, and Chris, who is part of the Sonic lore team. So, I gotta say, by the way, shout out to both Katie and Chris, because they do a fantastic job with the community. And in an age where we have a lot of video game devs and creators and people involved in like Discord mods and Reddit mods and all that being just complete and utter nut jobs, to see two normal people who actually interact with the fans in a positive way and do a great job of hyping up the franchise and all that, it's night and day. It's awesome to see. You see Chris interact with people all the time. I remember when a YouTuber, Sam Procrastinates, was like, can someone decode the binary in Eggman and Gerald Robotnik's journal? And Chris just responded with him in binary, and then when you decoded it, Chris's message just said ha ha ha. Like, stuff like that is awesome. And you see Katie hype up a bunch of stuff on Twitter all the time, and she's like, it was such a great time to work on this with everyone. We hope you all enjoy it. Stuff like that. It's like, you think it's such a simple thing to do, but the fact that I have to now praise them for just being decent human beings, that shows you where we've gone. But anyway, so Katie was responding to this Twitter user, Spin Slasher, and Katie basically, I'm assuming Spin Slasher at first asked about, how was Shadow Generations written and all that type of stuff. So Katie said, it's worth noting that while Ian, this is Ian Flynn, was the primary writer, that doesn't mean it all went unchecked. The lore team and Sega Japan collaborated on it. Things were tweaked until everyone was happy. Putting all our names there would undermine how much Ian did do, as this wasn't our role. So that's a nice insight. Ian Flynn was the primary writer for Shadow Gens. Of course, the lore team has to come in to check and make sure everything lines up. And Sega of Japan brings in their notes, and then they tweak it from there. And it's very nice that she put, putting all our names down as writer and all that. That undermines what Ian did do. So we're not going to do that. The lack of ego is phenomenal here. Spin Slasher then says, I'm still a little lost as to how this whole process works. Does Sega give Ian an outline and he takes it from there? Or does he create an entire story with the foundation provided? Which, example being, Sega would say, make a story about Shadow's whereabouts during Generations, and then Ian goes from there. So Chris chimed in and said, usually we all work together on an outline. Then once we have agreed upon the outline, Ian will then start writing out the outline into a script. And from there, everyone reviews and until it's at the point where everyone likes it. So Spin Slasher then said, so the lore team and Sega of Japan make the story, and Ian then turns it into a script. And then he said, correct. Chris is like, yes, that's how it works. Ian is part of the lore team too, but working directly with Sega Japan on a regular basis is integral to do what we do as a lore team. That's it. So that's how Sonic games are written, everyone. The lore team and Sega of Japan make the story, and then Ian writes the script and fills it in. Right? And then, of course, the lore team and Ian then go back and forth to make sure everyone's happy with it, and then we go from there. And like Chris said, keeping direct content with Sega of Japan is integral to being the lore team, right? Because obviously Sega Japan are the, they're the gatekeepers of all this. What they say goes. So that's a nice insight here into how Sonic games are written. I know it's not a big question everyone has about how Sonic games are written, but I think it's a nice little look in as to how these games are written, the thought process behind it, just the general process of what goes into making a Sonic game, of course, from a writing standpoint, not a development standpoint. So that's going to do it for me. I just thought this was a nice bit of knowledge to share. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all next time.